Hey friend, I have a guided reading for you today. Feel free to gaze at the cards while I'm talking, see if anything tickles your own intuition. Remember, some things are going to resonate more and some things are going to resonate less, but the important part is if you're growing. So let's go ahead and get started. Guiding our reading today, we have the Singer of Transfiguration. Okay, so with the Singer of Transfiguration, not only am I getting this impression of, alchemy, self transformation, but when we look at this singer, it's red, right? So you are working with something very primal, very base, part of, either your physical life or early childhood that has been coming up for you to transmute, has been coming up for you to heal, right? Now, that might be something that you feel that you had already worked on in the past and achieved, some healing, but it's like an onion, right? We have these layers, and sometimes we're going to find more things coming up for us to work with. All right. Now, starting off, we have the High Priestess. Okay. So, with the High Priestess, as opposed to the moon coming up, first of all, I'm getting this sense that you are navigating an inner space, but because it's the High Priestess and not the moon, there is this certain measure of self-awareness, right? This you've done an amount of work on yourself already, so you kind of know who you are, you know what's important to you and the direction you want to go, right? So even though you are navigating maybe something a little bit, deeper from within, a little bit more difficult or hard, if that's the case, you are still operating with this self-knowledge, and that's really going to help you succeed here. Okay, and the purpose of this right now is the Ace of Cups. It is this heart awakening, okay? When I look at the Ace of Cups, to me, that is that emotional flow, overflow, that, joy, that heart awakening, that expansion and connection, all right? And this heart awakening, this expansion, this connection comes from your personal growth and your personal healing and this ability to relate to others. All right, next up is the sun. Okay, so this is a rebirth type of an energy for you. Probably you've experienced things in your life that are very difficult. Maybe you've gone through challenges that others haven't had to deal with, but this has really kind of added to you and added to your character. And because of that, because you understand yourself, you are choosing joy. And the sun really is that choosing joy. It is that rebirth, right? After winter, we have spring. After the winter solstice, that longest night of the year, the sun comes back, things warm back up. So you right now are moving in a direction of a rebirth, or you're moving in this direction of a joy that you are choosing for yourself. Now, this is a gift from your inner child, okay? Your inner child, the Six of Cups, the little boy giving the flower pot to the girl here, you have this garden. You have things you've created for yourself, right? All these different cups. Then your inner child wants to contribute, wants to add their gifts and blessings to it. So even if you are experiencing something difficult right now, understand that what's happening is that your inner child is trying to communicate with you, is really trying to emphasize what their needs are, and then contribute to the life that you have, contribute to the joy that you have. Now, we get into this energy of the Fool, right? Maybe you're stepping into something new. There are definitely experiences right now you're having that you haven't encountered or that you haven't dealt with. Now, of course, the Fool has their bag, so you have certain knowledge and wisdom that you've gained and experiences, but you are still stepping into something new. That is that surrender. Sometimes, though, it's easy to mistake that surrendering for a certain sense of giving up, right? We have the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is that F this card. And the reason I'm saying that this as a matter of like giving up versus surrendering is because it comes after the Fool. Maybe the difficulties you're experiencing, maybe whatever emotions that are coming up that you thought you had dealt with, that you don't feel you want to deal with, are making you go, F this, I don't want anything to do with this, or kind of create, some kind of a negative type of a thing. And we get into this war mentality with the King of Swords, okay? The King of Swords is that king who's gone off to really kind of, defend the kingdom or conquer, whatever the case being, right? When we're having this experience that comes up, these difficulties that we thought we dealt with, and we don't want to deal with them anymore, a lot of times we find ourselves getting stuck in this kind of a war mentality and fighting against it. But you want to remember that there is a difference between surrendering and giving up, okay? Surrendering is that moving with the flow, going, all right, you know what? I'm going to move with what life has for me versus that giving up is like, I'm done. I'm not even trying. You're still trying, you're still putting in an effort, but you're changing your emphasis onto moving with life's flow. All right. Next up, I have the Three of Wands. Okay, so you are noticing and you're aware of the things that are coming up. Okay, so let's say, for example, if you were somebody who's struggled with some sort of a substance abuse, some sort of addiction, maybe you're feeling the cravings coming back up, or maybe you're seeing certain behaviors coming back up. But when we have the Three of Wands, the individual here, he's watching the ships come in, he's aware of what's moving, and then, rather than just being surprised and caught off guard, he is able to plan and take action, right? You could also be seeing that the things coming up are also the things that are helping to bring you into the new life, even if it doesn't look like that immediately, right? Because that Three of Wands is, he's waiting for the ships to come to take him so he could travel to the new world, to travel to the new kingdom. Okay, perhaps as these things were coming up, maybe you kind of fell to it a little bit, right? If we're using the substance kind of analogy here, right? When I'm looking at the Five of Cups, those three cups that are overturned, those could be you had the drink, or you lit the pipe, or you did whatever. You fell back into a certain behavior that you used to be in, that you had thought you'd got out of. And I want to try to emphasize here not to feel bad about it, to not really be down and hard on yourself, because there are still those two standing cups. Those two standing cups is the awareness of what it is you are seeking. What is that emotional fulfillment that you're looking for, that you're trying to fill with that thing, or that you used to try to fill with that thing anyway, right? And like I said, be gentle on yourself, because the next up is strength, right? The thing here is, like, if you berate yourself and you're hard on yourself for having slipped or having made mistakes, that doesn't really help you get better. It doesn't really help you get from A to Z. Be gentle with yourself, because your true strength is going to come from that kindness to yourself, that understanding, and that gentleness, right? Now, you do want to kind of try to work on your energetic integrity, right? We do have the Four of Pentacles, and I'm not looking at Four of Pentacles right now in terms of like miserly energy. I'm looking at this in terms of structural integrity, right? That castle he's in, it's pretty solid, okay? He really knows how to kind of like manage his resources. And even if you're not like a king, right, you still have this crown, right? There's a fake it till you make it type of an energy here going on. The thing of the matter is if you put your active attention into maintaining your integrity, into maintaining, what it is for yourself, that, like, hey, this is my new way of behaving, this is my new way of making choices, that prevents you from falling back into a self-destructive or unhealthy kind of a pattern or energy. That is our Four Pentacles. So you really kind of want to focus on that. And that could be, maybe you have support. Maybe you have friends who really kind of want to see you succeed. Or if you're somebody who's in recovery, you could be going to AA or NA, and there is that accountability, right? So you want to kind of try to focus on that accountability, and not as a negative type of thing, like you're a bad person, so you have to have somebody keeping an eye on you, but rather as the support, right? Because whenever we turn to behaviors or things that, you know, try to fill in that void, what we're really looking for is that connection. So that support's going to be super important for you. This is, in fact, how you're going to build the reality you want for yourself, okay? The King of Pentacles, he's very practical. Not only is he good with money, not only is he good with his resources, but he knows what actions to take. He knows to be steady. He knows how to show up each and every day and, put in the work, all right? So if you show up each day and with that renewed commitment to your well-being, to healthy behaviors, to healthy ways of connecting and interacting with other people, you can continue to put in toward building something more beautiful for yourself, right? You can move from that Four of Pentacles into the King of Pentacles. You can move into that self sovereignty, which is you knowing the practical ways of managing yourself and your life in order to create something you want, as opposed to something that you don't really want, that you fell into, okay? Now, this is a little bit of balancing act, right? We have the Two of Pentacles, right? The Two of Pentacles being that, like the one thing feeding into another, right? So you see the Two Pentacles here, and there's this, if I can get it, the string that's connecting the Two Pentacles that he's juggling, right? There is this flow, and this kind of reminds me of the whole idea of like temperance, of like the pouring one cup into another, right? You pour into yourself, you take the time to really kind of cultivate and nurture yourself, even when sometimes it feels a little precarious, when it feels like you're walking on this tightrope. The important part is that you do the work, you put the work into yourself, but you don't have to feel super like uptight or stressed about it, right? We can be the Page of Pentacles. You can be fresh. You can have that inner child type of an energy. To me, the Page of Pentacles, compared to the other pages, is definitely even more of an inner child. Now, some people might interpret that a little bit differently, but when I see the Page of Pentacles, it's that enjoying life for life. It's the sweetness of life, right? You're picking the fruits and you're enjoying it for what it is. The Page of Pentacles, they're not in a hurry. They're not going anywhere. Their feet are on the grass. Their feet are touching earth, right? The point being that if you give yourself what you need today, you take the steps today, you don't have to worry about tomorrow, right? When tomorrow comes, tomorrow's going to be today. Just enjoy the moment, enjoy where you are right now, and give yourself that kind of freshness, that joy, that sweetness, right? All right, we move into the Ten of Pentacles next. Now, when I'm looking at the Ten of Pentacles, yes, obviously, Ten of Pentacles is this kind of prosperity, that generational wealth, right? But I'm seeing the old man here, and he's got the two little children. Now, these are the same kids I see that were in the Six of Cups, right? So this is emphasizing that point that your inner child wants to contribute, right? Here's the little boy giving the vase to the little girl, but then in the Ten of Pentacles, you have the little boy, he's got his little flower pot, and is showing the grandfather, hey, look what I can grow. And the grandfather, who grew this garden that's all around him, who grew this prosperity, is there to kind of really encourage and nurture him, right? We have the two dogs. That could be like the dog and the wolf you would see in the moon card, right? So you need to understand that the things you're experiencing right now, the things you're navigating right now, are your inner child trying to contribute. And maybe that inner child has certain wounds or certain behaviors or patterns that they learned in the past that really kind of made you choose certain ways of being. But right now, what you have is an opportunity to make different choices, an opportunity to learn from the experience, to contribute to what is going to ultimately be your prosperity, what is going to ultimately be your wealth, right? Now, all these different things in the Ten of Pentacles, I'm seeing them as aspects of yourself, because up next is the Nine of Pentacles. That's that self made woman, the self made man, right? Whoever you are building that solid, reliable, consistent type of an energy within yourself, that contentedness that makes it where you don't need to really seek outside of yourself for your happiness, that you don't really need to seek outside of yourself for your joy. And when you come into this self centered kind of energy, when you come into this grounded energy to where you are aware of yourself, you're aware of your emotions and how you want to manage things, then that's when the energy feels safe to come up. Our Knight of Wands, okay? Our Knight of Wands is that impulse. It could be that desire for the thing or for the person or the behavior or whatever the case being, right? You see the thing come up because now you've created a safe space for it to come up in order for you to transmute, okay? And you want to move with it. You want to celebrate and play and just be joyful. Okay. The Four of Wands is that, you've gone to a new land, you've settled down, they're celebrating, right? You could think of this as the marriage card, but this is the new home. You've reached the new land after the Three of Wands, and it's time to celebrate. So you are a new person. Even if you find yourself sometimes wanting to slip back into old things, you're in a new life. You're in a new thing. So give your self time to enjoy and celebrate that, okay? Because when you give yourself the chance to realize how far you've come, it makes it a little bit easier to deal with the the negative things or the difficult things or the impulses when they come up, right? And that would be that devil energy, okay? Because now with this self-awareness that you have, when these things, these temptations come up, you can be aware enough to say, I can't get what I'm really after here. Okay. Like the man and the woman in this card, they may have their hands on this chest, right? And, you know, they really want, whatever the treasures inside, but you can see the man here, he's reaching out toward the light at the end of the tunnel. You're grasping after one thing because you actually want another thing. Okay, you might be grasping after a certain feeling or substance or person or whatever the case being because you want some sort of feeling of joy and connectedness. And the emphasis here is for you to notice that you can let go of the old thing and move forward into the new one. Okay. All right. We have the Four of Cups next, and this kind of goes along the same point right here, right? You have these three cups in front of the individual here, and he doesn't want anything to do with it. So maybe, you see the things coming up, the old behaviors or whatever, and you're like, I don't want anything to do with that. But then there is that extra cup on the side. There is that opportunity, the opportunity for you to recognize what it is that you are actually trying to fulfill, okay? What it is that you are actually trying to meet. And that goes back to that Ace of Cups, right? I'm seeing this cup on the side as the ace. So here's the thing. You know that you're looking for connection. You know that you are looking for fulfillment and meaning. So that is where you want to put your attention. You want to really kind of put your attention on meeting whatever the need that the old desire is trying to bring your attention to, okay? And that is when things really balance out. That is the true justice, justice not being that karma of you did a thing and now here's the consequences of your actions. Real justice is finding whatever the healthy good thing that wants to be fulfilled that you've directed into something unhealthy and meeting that need so that way some other external source or some other alternate source of that pleasantness in yourself no longer becomes necessary. All right, friend, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope this was encouraging for you. If the reading was good, if you liked it, go ahead and leave me a like, comment in the comment section. You can leave me a sunflower emoji. That'll let me know that you see me. If you haven't heard already, I actually have been doing some short stories and fairy tales in tarot, so you can check out this one here. You might like Edgar Allan Poe. Or if you want another tarot reading, check out my playlist here, and I will see you in the next one.